Now, given that we're a few weeks into Tsukimichi, I think it's pretty easy and safe to say that this is a quality isekai. From the self-aware dialogue, we have Makoto, right? This man, he's pretty much a bundle of perfect main character energy. From the self-aware isekai comments to his reactions, he pretty much is like the perfect middle ground of going absurd without going too cringy and too overboard that it just annoys you. Every character, whether it's, you know, that kind of like slime formula, everyone blesses Makoto, but Makoto very much is against that kind of like everyone worshipping him. The best thing he wants is just to interact with normal humans, but because he looks like a demon lord walking towards you, he can't do shit. Everything about this show is everything I like about isekais with none of the bad baggage, at least as of right now. You have a character who was dealt a very shitty hand from the beginning. You know, he was doing something that he thought was right, he was going to go isekai himself so that his siblings wouldn't have to be. He meets a goddess who treats him like shit. He starts off pretty much immediately very powerful, but you want to root this character on because he's a likable guy. Everyone's calling him ugly or talking shit to him, and you just want to see this guy succeed. And I like how rather than being that type of leader who is either A, trying to build this, so all the new races that we get introduced to in this episode, he's trying to actively do it, or he's trying to be this great guy. Really, he's just someone trying to navigate life, and at this point, his biggest goal was getting to a village, and pretty much trying to be General Isekai in a lot of ways. But two, there's nothing about him that's offensive, that makes you want to punch him. He's just a really likable character. So when you see characters like Mio, or now fully named anyway, Mio as well as Tome, I mean, this is incredible, because these two characters are thirsty. You have Dragon Samurai, who obviously wants to probably have your babies and watch the things in your head, where you have a very thirsty spider who thinks you guys are going to be married or already are married. And then you have Pig Waifu, who probably just fits the more like general housewife, cleans, cooks for you sort of a thing. And you have all these other species who are pretty much indebted to you because you are honestly the reason they have so much great things. But I like how rather than just making him stay as like super overpowered, he is to these creatures, but then when he goes to like Adventurers Guilds, he's ranked level 1, right? He finally gets a ring that allows him to suppress his mana, so he just kind of looks like he's being strung along by two very powerful people, one of which is a little more powerful than the other, and you gotta love a feisty dragon who gets upset over that. But the fact that they're so ridiculously powerful, you know, even though he's overpowered, I can definitely see plenty of circumstances where people treat him like he's the weakest character in existence, and he's not going to show them that because then they'll run away in fear. So it's kind of an interesting formula, where I could definitely see it working in his favor, where you have the overpoweredness when he goes off and does adventurer things, but when he comes back, he's probably going to be treated as the child who got babysat by the two hot demons right here, right? I really like that about this show. And this is something that it constantly has me laughing. It constantly has me charmed. You have the kind of like civilization building that I love about isekais. You have the ridiculous over-the-top comedy. You have the leveling system, the naming system. Like, there's so many different things at play, and I really, really enjoy it. I would be honestly shocked if at this point anyway, this quality dips either on the visual production side or even the story. Because now that we've actually opened up the world past just the monsters living inside this realm, we clearly are opening up the world and seeing new and more interesting things about the world building. Seemingly anyway. I mean, if we take a look at, I think it was one of the dwarves said it. He's like, hey, you know, did you get a mission from the goddess? And we don't agree with the goddess's missions. But the goddess hates our characters, so seemingly that's good for him, because these characters don't want anything to do with heroes with missions. So are they actually the bad guys, or is it just that these creatures are just done with human bullshit? Because most likely in typical isekai fashion, right, you know, a goddess blesses a hero, the hero goes to human villages, and then they go and attack monsters and screw over other people. Because our character started off at the other side of the world, really isn't liked by normal humans, he interacted with monsters first. So most likely, he's working with the enemy side, but from the goddess hero perspective, they are the enemy. So that's kind of like my line of thinking right now, and I really like this about the show, is that there's definitely subtle clues, and sometimes they will hit you over the head with the information, but other times you really gotta take a step back and listen to what the characters are saying and say, wait a second, we definitely are going about this in a different way. Even though I see these familiar elements that I love, the way the characters are actually interacting with each other is completely different than what I've seen before. I think it'll be very interesting because clearly there's a big setup of people trying to screw over our party here. Not only from just the overpriced food, drink, inn, everything like that, people are actually trying to attack and kill him. And it'll be interesting to see why. I mean, the girl who we immediately get a little indicator of, at least I think it's a chick, at the beginning when they're going through the gate, gave me red flags, and at the end of the episode, they pop up as well. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, if it's going to be someone who's going to try to help Makoto and be like, hey, if you let me join you, I've been watching you, I'll make it so people don't try to assassinate you in your sleep, or is it going to be one of the people trying to kill him because they, I don't know, maybe if you kill these characters, you'll gain their levels as well, you know, maybe it's like an RPG sort of a situation. The higher the creature or person you kill, the more experience you gain, which, I mean, if you see people who are level 1500, 1300, even though you probably can't defeat them, maybe there's a way to, like, you know, get a extremely critical hit if you catch them off guard, right? Like, I love Isekai series, but there's so many, and I love how we're getting so many of the funny isekais, and I'm not saying, like, this doesn't have serious elements to it and it can't be serious. I mean, I'm sure the parent plot line, because that was kind of like his original goal, was to try to search for why his parents originally came from here. And there's going to be moments of probably death, there will probably be moments where he actually suffers. But I think the best way to get people on board with isekais anymore is a good comedic hook, and I think the production has done an amazing job. I'm loving more series taking that kind of Konosuba approach, where it is those exaggerated reactions, wacky character models. I mean, just look at when he was basically being given a title from his villagers, right? Like Young Master, My Lord, you know, the different ones. Just seeing him so deadpan as everyone's cheering in the distance. I love that type of stuff. It is so absolutely ridiculous, and you wouldn't have it any other way. At least I know I would. This is easily one of my most anticipated shows every single week. Like, I'm enjoying everything that I'm reviewing this season, but there's a special charm about a show like this that on paper should just be cringe or boring, but I love Makoto. And even though many of the other characters, from Mio to even, you know, Best Dragon over here, even though I say I like these characters, they're not the reason I'm hooked on this series. They're just an added bonus, right? They're the side dish to the amazing main course, which is his opinion on this isekai adventure. He's not too serious, he's not too comedic, he kind of feels like a normal guy who got dealt a bunch of shit hands, and rather than being edgy about it, you know, he reacts when need be, but for the most part, he's just trying to do his best given the circumstance, and it's really easy to root for him. And I love the fact that rather than just saying he's overpowered and he's level 10,000, he's literally level 1, so people will think he's a weakling, when in reality, he's probably more powerful than anyone else. And that's going to be a really fun formula to balance overpoweredness while still being treated like shit. So it's kind of like that nice middle ground where it's never going to be a dull moment, and if it does, I mean, most likely that ring of his is going to break while he's in the village. It's going to charge up for a certain amount of time, but eventually it's going to crack, and I bet that's going to cause some chaos. Definitely love the anime medium and just seeing what people see of him and like the way they distorted the voices. Such a cool detail. Let me know your thoughts on this week's Tsukimichi episode down below. What do you hope to see with next week, and just the anime in general? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share, support, and hit that subscribe button if you're happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.